So, are you ready to dive in?
Always up for a deep dive,
That sounds
especially
good.
one that promises to be this interesting.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Swedish Museum's online collection database.
Sounds fascinating. What's caught your eye?
Well, what makes this one really unique is the format. It's not just your typical list of artifacts you see. They've got these intriguing little keyword tags attached to each item, kind of like a little puzzle.
Oh, I love that. It's like they're giving us a glimpse behind the curtain.
Exactly. So let's see. Okay, this first one is tagged Old Fisherman Sweden, which I don't know about you, but it instantly conjures up some pretty vivid images in my mind. What do you think? Any guesses?
Old fisherman Sweden.
Huh.
Hmm. Well, I'm immediately thinking about Sweden's strong maritime tradition, right?
Yeah.
All those stories of rugged fishermen battling the elements, a way of life that's so deeply ingrained in their history.
Right, and it makes you wonder about the lives these fishermen lived.
Exactly. What hardships did they face? What triumphs did they celebrate? It's like this old fisherman becomes a symbol, a stand-in for generations of Swedes who've made their living from the sea.
It's amazing how a simple tag like that can unlock so much, isn't it? Okay, ready for the next one. This one's a bit more, shall we say, divisive. It's tagged Fox Figurine Sweden, and apparently there's some debate about its artistic value.
Ah, yes, the age-old question, right? What is art and who gets to decide?
It seems like even in a museum, not everything is cut and dry.
Absolutely. And this fox figurine, it really highlights that tension between tradition and modernity that we see playing out in so many cultures today.
Okay, this next one sounds a bit more lighthearted, maybe even a little mischievous. It's tagged Fancium Sweden. Fancium? That's a new one for me.
Fancy 'em. Oh, I love these little glimpses into folklore. It reminds us that even in our modern world, there's still room for a little magic and mystery.
So what is Fancium exactly?
Well, think of it like a trickster spirit. A mischievous entity that embodies the unknown, the unexplainable. They pop up in cultures all over the world, these fansium figures, often playing pranks on unsuspecting humans or disrupting the natural order of things.
So like a mischievous forest sprite or something.
Exactly.
Mm.
And it makes you wonder, what anxieties or fears do these figures represent?
Mhm.
What are the stories that cultures tell themselves to explain the unexplainable?
Okay, moving from the fantastical to the, well, let's just say a little less sweet than it sounds. This next one is tagged Sugarland, Sweden.
Sugarland. Now, that sounds delightful. I'm imagining rolling hills and gingerbread houses.
I hate to burst your bubble, but Sugarland, in this case, refers to a decaying sugar mill.
Oh, wow, that's quite a contrast.
Right. It's like a visual reminder that even in a place as modern and forward-thinking as Sweden, the past always leaves its mark.
Absolutely. It's that juxtaposition that makes it so compelling, don't you think?
Absolutely. Okay, this next one is a real head scratcher. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
It's simply tagged Radish Road, Sweden. Radish Road. I'm trying a blank.
Radish Road. Now, that sounds intriguing, doesn't it? It's like
Hmm.
something out of a whimsical children's book or a strange dream.
Right.
Is it a real place in Sweden? Or is it more a metaphorical thing?
But it's like, what could it possibly be? And why is it in the Swedish Museum's collection database? It's a mystery.
Right.
It just makes you wonder what stories it could tell. Like, is it a real road? Or, like you said, maybe some kind of art piece?
Exactly. Maybe a photography exhibit or, who knows, even some kind of avant-garde sculpture garden.
Mm.
I'm picturing giant radishes now.
No, that's an image. Okay, moving on from the mysterious Radish Road, this next entry caught my eye because it seems to blend the ancient and the, well, very, very modern. It's tagged crypto docking and falls under Fairy Tale Sweden.
Crypto docking. Okay, now that's a fascinating combination. It's like they're merging two completely different worlds.
Right. Like, on one hand, you've got fairy tales, these timeless stories passed down through generations. And then on the other hand, you have cryptocurrency, this cutting edge technology. What happens when those two things collide?
Right. I mean, is it some sort of interactive exhibit where you explore a digital fairy tale world using cryptocurrency?
Okay.
Or maybe it's a collection of digital art inspired by Swedish folklore, but like with a crypto twist.
I'm picturing a troll guarding a blockchain bridge. Okay, speaking of mythical creatures, this next one is simply tagged Cat Sweden. And I have to admit, I'm a little curious.
Cat Sweden. Oh, this should be good. Cats always seem to have a special place in folklore and mythology.
Don't they? So what role do they play in Swedish tales? Are they like mystical companions or mischievous tricksters?
Well, in many cultures, cats are seen as guardians of the home, right?
Okay.
Or they're associated with magic and witchcraft. It would be interesting to see how Swedish folklore depicts these felines.
Yeah. Do they have 9 lives in Swedish stories too?
Okay, moving on from the mysterious world of Cat Sweden, let's talk about something a little more, shall we say, monumental.
Sounds good to me. What do you have in mind?
Well, this next item is tagged Statue Sweden. And what's interesting about this one is that it's specifically referred to as the Swedish Statue of Free Speech.
The Swedish Statue of Free Speech. Now that's intriguing. We often think of statues as representing historical figures or events, but this is something different, isn't it? It's an idea, a concept.
Right, it's like they've given a physical form to something abstract.
Exactly. It really makes you think about how a culture chooses to represent its values. And in Sweden's case, it seems like freedom of speech is something they hold quite dear.
Absolutely, and it makes you wonder, what would such a statue even look like, right?
Right. Is it a bold, defiant figure, someone standing up for their beliefs? Or is it something more subtle, more open to interpretation? I'm really curious now. Me too. Okay, this next entry is sure to be a lively one, especially with midsummer just around the corner.
Midsummer, oh yes. Full of tradition and, let's be honest, a little bit of mischief too, right?
That's right. But this entry isn't just about flower crowns and maypole dancing. It's tagged Midsummer Sweden. And it seems to hint at something a little deeper, a little more, shall we say, primal.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. It's about those ancient roots, those pagan rituals that still influence midsummer celebrations today.
Exactly. It's like this entry is inviting us to look beyond the surface, to explore the hidden layers of meaning and tradition that shape this holiday.
It's fascinating how these ancient customs managed to survive, even thrive, in our modern world. It speaks to their enduring power.
Okay, this next one is a bit of a curveball. It's simply tagged Shadow Sweden, which I don't know about you, but it sounds a little ominous, don't you think?
Shadow Sweden.
Mhm.
It's certainly evocative, isn't it? Like something lurking just beyond the light.
Right. What do you think it could be? Some kind of dark folk tale or a collection of spooky ghost stories?
Maybe. Or it could be something more metaphorical,
Mhm.
like an exploration of the darker aspects of Swedish history or society.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like the things that are often swept under the rug, the uncomfortable truths that every culture has.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so intriguing, right? It's like they're saying, hey, there's more to us than meets the eye. Are you brave enough to look?
I like that. Okay, last but not least, we have an entry that's simply tagged Official Sweden.
Official Sweden.
Hmm.
Now, that sounds rather formal, doesn't it? Like something straight out of a government archive or a history book.
Right. And you know what? You're not too far off. This entry is actually a powerful speech that was delivered at a political event.
Ah, I see. So it's a glimpse into the world of Swedish politics, the official voice of the nation, so to speak. I wonder what burning issues were addressed in this particular speech. Makes you wonder what was going on in Sweden at the time, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so we've explored everything from old fishermen to mischievous spirits to, well, radishes. What did we learn today?
I think it's incredible how much a simple museum database can reveal about a culture. We've just scratched the surface here, really.
That's right. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that there are always more stories to uncover, more layers to peel back, no matter how well you think you know a place or a culture.
Couldn't agree more. And those little surprises, those unexpected connections, that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding.
Absolutely. So, to our listeners out there, we encourage you to embrace your curiosity, keep exploring, and maybe even start your own deep dive into a topic that fascinates you. Who knows what treasures you might uncover?
Happy digging, everyone.
All right, so are you ready to dive in?
Always up for a deep dive,
That's
especially one that promises to be this interesting.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Swedish Museum's online collection database.
Sounds fascinating. What's caught your eye?
Well, what makes this one really unique is the format. It's not just your typical list of artifacts you see. They've got these intriguing little keyword tags attached to each item.